A group of women intercessors from Budapest have contacted me and asked me to come to Budapest and tell my story of my family immigrating from Bulgaria to Israel. So my family and I, we traveled to Budapest by the invitation of an Orthodox church that was established in Budapest by Bulgarian Christians who came to Budapest 100 years ago. They were very, very interested to learn about the history during the Second World War, how about 50,000 Jews from Bulgaria were saved from being killed by the Nazis during the Holocaust. On Friday, this precious group of intercessors invited us to their home, and we had a Shabbat dinner and Shabbat blessings. And all the people that were there, they were Christians from Catholic background, from Orthodox background, and most of them never have experienced what it means to celebrate Kabbalat Shabbat and Kiddush. So we were able to explain all the blessings of the lighting the candles, the blessings of the bread and the wine, and blessings of blessing the wife and the kids. And this is something that we do every Friday night. So we're able to impart these blessings upon these beautiful Christians who love Israel and pray for Israel. And then on the next day, we were invited to this Orthodox church by Father Makarios, who is the priest in charge of the church, of this Orthodox church in Budapest, Hungary. And he told us that the first part of the service, he will have the liturgy and the incense and all the prayers that they usually do at the Orthodox church. And after that he will welcome me, introduce me, and ask me to share my story. I shared the background about my family, how my family immigrated to Israel in 1948, but also I told the story before that in Bulgaria of the rescue of the 50,000 Jews during the Second World War. And here there is a group of Christians from Catholic background, from Orthodox background. They were so touched by this story, and they want to know how I became a believer as a Jew from Israel, how I came to know Yeshua as my Savior. And thus I had this opportunity to share my testimony with all these beautiful Christians from Hungary here in this Orthodox church. Later on, we were also invited by this Orthodox Neolut rabbi from Budapest. He was very aware that I'm a Messianic Jew, and here I am in an Orthodox synagogue, conservative synagogue, right here in Budapest, and sharing the story of how the Bulgarian Jews were rescued by the efforts of this metropolitan, this bishop from the Orthodox Church, Stefan, and this Rabbi Daniel Zion of Sofia, Bulgaria. So this gave me an opportunity to share the testimony how Rabbi Daniel Zion, in one of his mornings when he was praying Shacharit in the morning, he had a vision of Yeshua appearing to him and spoke to him, "I am Yeshua the Messiah," and how he gave his life to Yeshua and became a Messianic Jew. And then we went just by the Danube River, and there is the story that there was those who collaborated with the Nazis, Hungarians. Our dear sister Andrea from Budapest took us to the river there by the bank of the Danube River, and let's go and see what happened there.
This actual monument commemorates those Jewish people who fell victim to the Hungarian Nazi squads called the Arrow Cross, who had over the other side of the river, they had a center, and that center also turned into a place of mass murder. But very often these Arrow Cross units just broke into Jewish people's homes, rounded them up, put them into groups of 40, 50, 60, tied their hands together with ropes, and chased them over the bridge and along the embankment. And what's even hard to speak about is that they made them undress at the riverbank and shot them into the river. And obviously, because they were tied together, quite a number of them could have fallen into the river alive. So the cruelty of this, we have no words except for the shame and the sorrow that we feel that this could be in the midst of our country.
Also, we were requested with one of the intercessors. In fact, it's a precious sister who is blind, but she's an intercessor and she loves Israel and prays for Israel and has been a few times in Israel. And she gave me a request to bring Arabic Bibles in Arabic from Israel, because she has a group that is outreaching to the refugees, Arab refugees from Syria and Iraq. So we were able to bring those few Arabic Bibles from Israel, and we wrote a blessing in it, and we gave it to her to give it to this outreach that they are doing to the refugees, those refugees Arabs from Syria and Iraq. So when I look back, I say this is a total miracle that I was able, as a Messianic Jew from Israel, to share the history of my parents immigrating to Israel from Bulgaria, but share also my testimony in an Orthodox Christian Orthodox church, and later on in a conservative Orthodox synagogue in Budapest. Definitely, this was an impossible thing that we never thought this would happen, and we give God the glory.